Hello everybody, welcome to a kind of late Sunday Funday. Real quick, if you want to know a little personal life, I had a whole bunch of crap I actually had to do on Sunday, so I couldn't see Annabelle Creation Sunday, so I saw this Monday, and even then, like, today, it's like I'm trying to find space to be able to record. Yeah, it's like, just everything's happening right now. It's a little hectic and all over the place. But hey, I'm able to finally talk about the film that I saw earlier. And the fact that this is how the summer box office is kind of ending. It's kind of sad, not because this is just the worst movie ever. More just because, unlike last year where it felt like every month up till probably about middle of September we had a tentpole movie, which was part of the problem and the reason why there was so many box office bombs last year. And there was just too many movies that are crammed in too little space. This one feels a lot more like it's just limping off into distance to fall off and die. It's a kind of bleak metaphor for it, but yeah. So what did I think about this actually rated R horror film that's based on The Conjuring, which I didn't care that much about? Real quick, to speak about The Conjuring, to quantify my statement there that I didn't care that much about. I thought it was a fine enough movie. I thought when it did good horror, it was doing really good. But there's a point to where homage is starting to leak into straight off ripping off. Or just copying, and that's what I was beginning to get along with The Conjuring. I was getting really tired of these homages that was just straight up copying other better films. It's like, I've seen better exorcism movies, I've seen better ghost story movies, seen better poltergeist movies. It's a fine and competent enough film. It does have some creepy bits, but there's nothing new to it. It's very generic. It's so much of the great value version of everything. Those who shop at Walmart know exactly what I'm talking about. There is nothing in The Conjuring you won't see done somewhere else better. Sure, it does it better than the shitty movies, but that's not a praise, really. So, The Conjuring is like a completely fine, forgettable film for me. I never saw Annabelle. I will straight admit that, but that doesn't matter with this film because this is actually supposed to talk about the doll from the beginning of Annabelle, which is weird because, like, Annabelle really wasn't a major point in the entire film. At least in the first Conjuring. And even in Conjuring 2, which I haven't seen, but I do know something about it. And I will admit, I went into this movie with zero expectations, and it fulfilled that. It just had no real substance. I will say it's better than what I was thinking, because I was thinking it was like a pure complete utter schlock fest. But whenever I was sitting there going, alright, well, this is going to happen. Okay, yeah, that's exactly what happened. There were a few moments that I really felt a growing sense of dread, which is what this movie should have been building up to, this constant feeling. Sometimes it would get that, but then it would destroy it because it has to fall into the modern trappings of horror films nowadays. Which is, we have to have this character go boo for no reason. So we have these false jump scares, and then 5 seconds later have an actual jump scare. It also doesn't help. It has a lot of jump scares. It's nothing new that critics have already said. Sorry, I'm kind of broken record here. But as somebody who really does love horror films, I love more psychological thinking horror films, or a movie that really builds a lot of mood. Like The Woman in Black, the first one, is a real moody film, and I love it to death. Just because there's probably whole chunks where nothing is said, and it's just permeating mood of just dread and uneasiness, and the little jump bits that really aren't actually like meant to be jump scares, but just stuff to kind of freak you out a little and be like, ooh. they work in that film. Here, instead of it going that route, it has a little bit of that, but it constantly wants to jump at you, and it's like, alright, I get it. It did not help that in the theater had this, like, she jumped and screamed at almost everything. Like, at one point, there's this, the doll, like, possesses, I guess, a sheet that was thrown on it, and she screams, she's like, ah! It's a sheet! Are you fucking kidding me? It's a sheet. Are you scared of linens? Do you walk in Bed Bath & Beyond and just piss your pants? What the hell, woman? Oh, that was a good sign. That happens in like the first 15, 20 minutes. To summarize the plot of this film, it's fairly simplistic. If you've watched the trailers, you know exactly what happens in this movie. And that's another issue. It's not that trailers give away everything that happens in this movie, because I will say it's like the ending, I was a little, oh, okay, that was actually a bit of a surprise, which I'll give the movie a little credit for. It's like, oh, okay, I didn't see the ending coming, but to be fair, I was checked out, so I didn't care that much, so take it for what it is. But, I'm trying to remember the actor's name. He so much reminds me of Gabriel Byrne, but I don't really want to say it is. But this one guy and lady, I don't even remember their names. It's how they're the protagonists. So that's how I describe them. They have a daughter. He's a doll maker, and she gets killed in the most hilariously stupid ways possible. I cannot help it. It makes me laugh every time. I've seen it in the trailers. I laughed at it then. I laugh at it now. Just because, like, oh, look, a penny, clunk. In all essence, like, the dad's trying to sit there and take off this wheel, one of the lug nuts is stuck, and he just rips it off, and one of the lug nuts roll on. She's like, I'll help you, clunk. He gets hit by a truck. How it doesn't hit him or her, who are standing right in the same area where she is, or even like graze him at the very least. But hey, that's movie logic for you. People that are literally 1 foot away from the actual thing that kills somebody are actually fine. I was a foot away from that nuclear blast. I was perfectly A-okay. Yeah, little girl dies, and they eventually explains, like, because it takes till here the last 20 minutes of the film, where they explains, like, oh, we pray to whatever deities to try and bring back our little girl, and they never, and they're like, well, we gave it a host to be able to go into the stall. Okay. And it turns out it was actually a demon thing that, like, grows and does. If you've seen a Grudge, you've seen that before. And really quickly there, that's when I began to notice the movie's not really damn original. I know it's a prequel to a spin-off of another film franchise, supposedly trying to build a horror universe. Which, again, if you watch my Mummy review, I don't have a problem with this idea. I had no issues with the Freddy vs. Jason series. Hell, I actually am not one of these people who vehemently hates the Alien vs. Predator franchise. I know technically those don't coincide as horror franchises, but one technically is a horror franchise to me. The other one's a good thriller film in a nice way. But yeah, I don't have any qualms against building a universe. That to me is more interesting, you know, possibly giving these how am I trying to word this? Like Cabin in the Woods. The reason why I really enjoyed Cabin in the Woods is because it can say that all these different films, if you want to think about it, Evil Dead, hell, any other slasher film, or any horror film, Hellraiser even is technically mentioned in a way, but they didn't have rights, obviously, because New Line's weird. But all these different films are supposedly now connected because of this, like, need to please these gods. You know, it's a metaphor that it's not easily hard to do. Blaine is not here today. It's a metaphor that's not hard to decode, but at the same time, it still makes for a really enjoyable film, especially since it plays with a lot of little horror stuff and still uses its own cliches to its own good effect. So like I said, I have no issue with the idea of having a shared universe. What I do have a problem with, though, is having a wholly uninteresting universe that the only real scares it's able to build are usually built upon having to steal build up from other better franchises or other better films. I mean, like I said, like the little like creep demon thing that would do that, it just made me always think of The Grudge every time I saw it. I'm like, okay, when am I watching Junon now? I know it's technically called The Grudge here, but I'm going to call it by its Japanese name, which is a much superior film than the Grudge movie. That was an entirely forgettable film that I watched one time and laughed my ass off the entire time at. But it's like, that's one of the things that we're homaging, which I don't get why. This isn't particularly set well in this universe. You think of any exorcism kind of movies, Exorcism of Emily Rose comes to mind here and there, The Exorcist, anything with Exorcist usually in it, Repossessed even. I get a lot of sense of these films watching this because none of what I'm seeing is wholly new or unique. That's a problem. It's like, you can't build this franchise without giving it any substance that's original. Because they have an actual story, well, a true story as they call it, which is built around the Annabelle doll. Those who know about the Annabelle doll by Elizabeth Warren, a famous, pretty much faker. I'm going to call her out for what she is. She's been shown to be somebody who fakes it. Not for cameras, or maybe it's for publicity. I'm not sure. But just honestly, it's like, we know that the Amityville horror was, it was just a guy who lost his damn mind. She tried to claim, oh, demonic possession, Bob, I can prove it. It's all bullshit. Even the original writer of Amityville Horror admitted it was all bullshit. And also, that's another film that's kind of homages and rips off at the same time and doesn't do it very well. It's like, Amityville Horror is much more interesting. Even the remake. At least the remake tried something unique to itself at times. But, yeah, to get back into the plot of the film, they get the demon child that's stuck in this Annabelle doll. Then comes, out of nowhere, 12 years later, this nun in her orphanage, as they call it. It's like 5, 6 girls who are supposed to be staying at this house. They stumble across Annabelle doll, shenanigans. I've summed up the movie in all essence. I will say, I do agree upon certain other things. There are 2 young girls that are in this. One's named Linda, the other one is Janie, I believe. Or it might be Jeannie. I think it's Janie, though. One of them is supposed to be stricken with polio. And this is back before we actually could just cure with a shot. People really want us to not be able to do that anymore, because... But yeah. They are actually pretty decent child actors. I mean, it's not the greatest. You're not going to be sitting there, oh, best acting ever. But you're not going to be sitting there thinking they're completely unbelievable. Meanwhile, the other girls that are in this are literally just scream queens. They're not there to be... Actually, they're not even scream queens, because scream queens at least had a personality. Hell, I can't even tell you these other girls' names. All they did was just... They screamed a lot. They screamed at the slightest bit of everything. And... I just don't care. I don't care about these girls. Like, am I supposed to be worried about them? Am I not supposed to be worried about them? What the hell? But yeah, this movie does try to go... it tries to still scare you, even though you know how it's pretty much going to end. It's like, okay, well, this is going to end up happening, because obviously the Annabelle doll has to live up to at least the 70s, which is whenever, if I'm not mistaken, the first Annabelle film takes place. Or it might be like 60s or something like that. I can't remember. I don't remember, don't care. I also have to live all the way to Conjuring. So because of that, it's like you have technically a dour note of a ending. Though it's actually kind of unique that they have... I'm going to spoil this, so if you're worried or you're wanting to see this and you don't want the ending spoiled, which I will say, it's like, again, it's actually somewhat interesting, and I'm like, alright, I didn't see that coming. But yeah, turns out like doll possesses the girl with polio, somehow cures her polio, I guess. That's the thing that happens. And she starts calling herself Annabelle, and then when this couple shows up to adopt her, that turn out to have a Raggedy Ann doll, which is actually kind of interesting because it's harkening back to the original supposed Annabelle doll, which is a Raggedy Ann doll. No, then it shows like, oh, well, here's what happens all the way leading up to Annabelle. So that way, I guess it bridges it and makes sure it's like, all right, here, we're not going to have any more movies. This is the only prequel there's going to be to explain actually Annabelle. Because technically it's what Annabelle was supposed to do, and it didn't do that. So, yeah, that's the gist of the movie. You don't have really good payoff scares, like I keep saying. The CGI in it's pretty piss poor. And in fact, there's weird parts that I don't get. Like, there's supposed to be this mother who's in this, and she's supposed to have had, like, one of her eyes torn out by the demon whenever it was possessing their daughter and doing something. And you would think that they would just do, makeup, because she only has it on screen for a few minutes. But I guess they want to be cheap and lazy and do it the quick and easy route, and that is CGI. I mean, I know CGI is not easy per se, but comparing to the fact that it looks better if it's actually like physically on her, it looks like it's part of her face. You can actually see the indentions, the blood, the seeping pores and all that, instead of this, like, it just looks like somebody just went with goo on her face. And it looks fake. It looks bad. Why not just spend the money towards, actually getting the prosthetics? I don't know. That's a problem I've had with a lot of modern horror films. And I don't know. This is such a modern horror film, and it's so easily forgettable. Like, right now, I'm sitting there going, well, what scare did I think really didn't work? And I'm like, well, most of them. Like, the only one I really thought was good was the one where the demon really started messing with Jeannie, and it's simply because the girl has really good facial expressions, and because they decided to sort of mess around with the idea of like, oh, riding this thing going back down the stairs and I'm going back up. Even though the girl's retarded and doesn't know how to just undo a belt buckle and run off, or just slide down the stairs or something, like, screw you! And I've heard everybody in this film is deaf. They cannot fucking hear a single thing. Like, there's one point, this girl is screaming her head off, and people are like 10 feet away, and they're just... Anybody hear that? I don't get it. It's so odd, and it takes you out of the film every time. It's bad. It doesn't do anything you're gonna remember well. Like I said, the only scene I kind of thought was decent, it was that scene, just because there was a lot of good build-up. Though, again, it's tried to go way over the top with the music. Like, it really did not help. I was in a theater built for Dolby and all that, so it's meant to be really good, crisp picture, and on top of that, like, really loud sounds. Everything, move your chair and all that. And it was unnecessary. It added nothing to the film. The only reason I went to this is because I didn't have a choice. There was no other showtimes unless I wanted to wake up really early in the morning. I'm like, nope, not on my days off. So yeah, you're better off missing this. You're not gonna feel bad about it. The origins are not interesting, and on top of that, it doesn't add anything. That's the worst part about trying to make this film universe. Like, the films need to feel like they add something, either a character or a way of looking at things. That's the reason why the Marvel Universe is so interesting and so unique. That there's all these different characters being added, but not only that, but there's also adding their perspectives on things. You can look at it this way. This is why Peter does what he does. This is why Steve Rogers does what he does. This is why Tony Stark does what he does. It's the reason why that franchise works so well, that entire film group. And it's kind of the reason why DCU is struggling, because too much of it feels insular. None of it feels connected except for Man of Steel to Batman vs. Superman. And even then, it doesn't feel very well connected. Which is strange to say out loud. It's just like, well, then why did Superman not mention a single damn thing about Batman beforehand? Why did Batman not show up to meet Superman beforehand? Why did... Oh, my brain hurts. Yeah, there's weird bits throughout the DCEU that causes problems. Not that Marvel doesn't have problems because of this, but at least they try to address it. They try to sometimes. Or if they're like, well, we can't really have the world try to end with this, let's have a smaller story, so that's the reason why the Avengers don't appear in this. Alright, works for me. So yeah. You're going to forget about this film like I'm already forgetting about now. I'm like, I don't know it's a thing I watched. If you want to score, I guess I would totally just give this, it's a 3. It doesn't do anything aggressively bad. I mean, it does have lameness, there's a lot of boringness, and there's a lot of pointlessness, it feels like. And like, this movie's an hour and 40 some odd minutes long, nearly 2 hours long. It's like short of it by about 10 minutes. And there's no need for that. It's like there's whole chunks. I'm like, I could have cut this out of this film. It would not have affected anything except for the runtime. But like I said, it's like, it's still none of it's good. Like, it doesn't do anything like aggressively terrible like the Emoji Movie, where it's like, oh, this is actually going to, you know, hurt you on a personal level. It's like, no, it's just not good. And hey, there are some good bits, like the two main children actors for Linda and Jeannie. They're actually pretty decent. Most of the adult actors are alright. They're fine for what they do. The CGI sucks ass. And there's, like I said, one really good scene that builds up a lot of tension, a lot of fear. But beyond that, it's one drop in a bucket of bullshit. So yeah, that's Annabelle Creation. Forget about it. There's no reason to go see it. Go see anything else if you just have to go to the theaters this weekend. Well, of course, I know what I'm seeing in theaters this weekend is actually going to be Hitman's Bodyguard. That will be coming up this next week. I don't know. There's another movie I saw, Logan's Lucky. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to see that, because like this barely had any showtimes at the theater near me. It was weird. In fact, Net Drop 2 didn't have really any showtimes, so I was going to go see that instead of Annabelle Creation, because the original was like, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to have good times here. But it all worked out in the end. So, yeah, I got to be bored out of my mind for nearly 2 hours. But hey, at least the ticket was free in all essence. So, yeah, next week definitely Hitman's Bodyguard. Maybe Logan's Lucky. We'll see what happens. So, until then, I'll see y'all later. So, bye-bye, everybody.